welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today is an exciting show because we're going to dive into planting your spiritual universal seeds. It's going to get kind of deep, but we all have a purpose here, a universal purpose, a spiritual purpose. And those purposes have to do with not so much good and evil. It's about being awakening. It's about understanding your frequencies, your vibrations, and how your vibration can either elevate you or it can de-elevate you. Today on the show, we have a young lady who was blessed. Let's just call it what it is. She was blessed. She was awakening. And through this process of awakening, there is, believe it or not, trials and tribulations. Some of us have already awakening and understand our frequency and what our frequency gives to humanity as a whole. Today, all the way from Mexico, to share her story of her enlightenment, the one, the only, Lisa Watson. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. What a pleasure to be here and spread the news.
Yeah, it's so funny. When we was doing the pre-interview, and as soon as you said star seed, as soon as you said like-minded, I was like, I don't think we need to do it anymore Let's just go for it. Because when you are understanding, are coming to understand your purpose, the conversation becomes a vibrational frequency of positivity itself. So with that said, tell the viewers a little bit about you first before we get into your journey on becoming a seed. Let me get the right word. Star seed in this universe. So tell the viewers a little bit about you first.
My name is Lisa Watson, as you know, and I'm a coach. I'm a life coach, and I specialize in a modality that I have really created called Reparenting Yourself. I have written a book called Reparenting Yourself that I'm working with a publisher to get published right now. I write children's books, conscious children's books, because I also work with parents a lot. The reparenting, the process that I work with is, reparenting your inner child. And I work with people and parenting their own child, but it's the same exact thing. We have to do the same exact thing. So reparenting yourself or your child is the same. And that's what I do. I'm a life coach, and I've been doing that for the past 8 years or so. I have 2 children that are in their 30s, 2 boys, and I live in Mexico, in Baja California Sur, about an hour north of Cabo, and I do my work here.
You talk about reparenting, and you mentioned a key word here, children, because it starts with the parent, and it also starts with what the parents have been taught and what we give up unto the next generation, which is our kids. Let's go back a little bit about your childhood. What was your childhood like, so the viewers can understand the journey and the different things that you had to go through before you recognized that you were sent here with a higher vibration. So tell me a little bit about your childhood. What was it like growing up in your household?
I am the youngest of 8. I have 6 sisters, older sisters, and
there was a lot of fighting going on in your house.
Not really, to be perfect. Well, I guess my older siblings did. So I have a different father than all my other siblings, but there's only 10 years difference between my oldest sister and myself. My mother raised us as a single alcoholic mother. I grew up in Massachusetts in a fairly affluent area. Near Concord, Massachusetts, where the old North Bridge is. A lot of people know that area. And but we didn't have any money. So the programming that I received, the conditioning that I received as a child was that, I'm not good enough really because I was different. I had all these siblings that had a different father and grandparents than me, and they would go off and do their things, and I was left alone.
Mhm.
My mom was single. She was married to my dad for only like a year. I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house, mostly during the week, and would like go home on the weekends. So it was a very disconnected childhood. And my mother wasn't much of a caregiver. I mean, she had 8 children. She has a lot of trauma herself from her childhood. And I feel like I was basically abandoned, like by the age of 8, to just kind of raise myself.
Did you
Um,
know the trauma that your mom went through? Because you say you
yeah.
spent a lot of time with your grandmother. What kind of trauma did your mom go through?
My mom she was fostered because she was taken away from her severely alcoholic mother when she was a baby and put into a foster home. Had 2 sisters in that foster home and was treated like Cinderella. She was the one who cleaned the floors and did all the stuff. She was basically the maid. She wasn't part of the family. And she was sexually abused by a man in the house who she later learned was actually her biological father. Need I say more?
And it must show you now that you're older how an illness, even that kind of trauma, I can't understand why your mom. I do now because she was suffering from her own trauma, but will put you in that situation because this was your grandmother now that she's taking you over. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it was my dad lived with my grandmother like in her basement, and my grandparents owned a kennel in New Hampshire, and so it was a more stable environment. My mom worked a graveyard shift, and all my other sisters and my brother were at school when I was little. So I went to my grandparents, and my dad's house during the week to be cared for. And then when I was old enough to go to kindergarten, then I started living in my house with my mother and my siblings, and would go to my grandparents and my dad's on the weekend. Although I did drop out of kindergarten because I had a traumatic experience with a teacher, and my mother said I didn't have to go. So,
What was the traumatic experience you had with a teacher at that age?
stuff that's happening in schools all the time, just not feeling seen and not feeling heard. And I just really I didn't like the teacher, and I didn't like the way she was treating me. And I would come home and tell my mom stories, and she didn't like it either. And she just said, yeah, it's okay. You don't have to go to kindergarten. It's not required.
How
So I
close were
didn't
you
go.
with your siblings, even though you guys had different fathers? How close were you with them?
We're close family. Like we were all in survival mode, had to come together. My mom raised us in a way that she was like a child herself, really. She still is. In a mental way, it's like kind of stuck at a certain age because of her trauma, which I completely understand. But because we only have so much time here, I want to take this opportunity right now to tell you, it has everything to do with what we're talking about. One of the most important principles that I teach in my coaching practice and on my TikTok that I'm very active on, and that is the idea that we're all innocent. And we have to understand that we're multidimensional beings. We're all energetic soul beings that have come down into these bodies to have an experience. And I like to call these bodies avatars. Okay, they're just incredible computer systems it's magnificent what we have. And we have not been told and taught the breadth of who we truly are, the fact that we're energetic beings, that we create our reality based on our beliefs and all these things. One of the most important things that frees people from their pain and helps them to get a new perspective and a new start is this understanding that everyone is innocent. And since I did just explain my childhood and my mother, I'm going to use that as an example. I held a lot of resentment to my mother for many, many years, up until, quite honestly, I think I finally eradicated it only about a year and a half ago, where there's just nothing there anymore. Like there's no resentment whatsoever.
Mhm.
And it has taken me a lifetime of work. I've been doing this personal development, self-help work my whole life. I awakened in 2017. I've gone deep dive for the past 8 years into myself, into inner child work. And let me tell you, these programs, these disempowering programs from our childhood are no joke. They take a while to unwind.
Mhm.
But the idea that everyone is innocent is that when we do come into these bodies, into this avatar as these spiritual beings, we come into a body that needs this computer needs an operating system, okay? And that operating system is our brain. In the first 7 years of our life, we are designed by God to be in a theta brainwave state during these first 7 years. That's the same brainwave state they put you in when they put you under hypnosis. So children under the age of 8 are walking around in a hypnotic state. They are downloading information. They are building the operating system of this avatar. They are not judging the information that is coming, the modeled behaviors. They're simply adopting them. And so we adopt the behaviors from our environment, from the behaviors that are modeled for us, from the way that our caregivers speak to us, the things that they say. This is how we come to an understanding of how things work. This is how we operate. We're innocent to those programs. We're not consciously choosing them as a child. They're just happening.
Mhm.
We're also in what's called an egocentric point of view during this time, which means we take everything personally. Everything's about us. The frontal lobe is not developed of our brain, and we're not able to understand that things happen outside of us aren't because of us. So, for example, when say your father comes home from work, maybe he's been drinking, he's had a bad day, and he's upset, and you've got toys all over the floor, you're 2 years old, and he's like mad, like, what are you doing? You always make a mess, you never listen, pick up your stuff, right? That 2-year-old, what that 2-year-old is hearing is, I'm not good enough. And that can be translated into then, I'm not loved, I'm not lovable. And not being lovable and not being good enough from this egocentric point of view that this is all about me. I don't understand my father had a bad day at work. I don't understand drinking and alcohol and how it changes behavior. I don't understand that this isn't my fault. This is about me. So the child adopts this program that they're not good enough, they're not worthy, they're not loving, they're not, deserving. And what that ends up, what I've distilled it down to in my research with my own self working on, is that I'm not safe. I'm not safe to be my authentic self. I was just playing with my toys. I was just having fun, being me. And suddenly now I realize I'm not safe to be my authentic self. When we're not safe, we go into what's called fight, flight, or freeze. And depending on the situation, well, because if a child doesn't have the frontal lobe and they don't have the ability to express how they feel, they can't put words to anything, these emotions just get pushed down. And because we're energetic beings, we are made of energy, this energy has to be held in and it goes somewhere. So it kind of just gets pushed down, stuck inside the subconscious mind, okay? Fast forward, years later, you now are triggered by someone who has a tone with you or tells you in a condescending way that you didn't do something right. This was my trigger. And you get upset. You freeze. Sometimes that's what happens to me when I get triggered. Like if my husband says something in a condescending way, I just kind of freeze and I don't know what to do. Some people go into fight. They want to argue and yell. Some people go into flight and they just want to leave the trigger. And some people go into fawn, where they're going to go over and kind of fawn the person to make them happy and settle down so they feel safe. But what's happening is there's a signal being sent from your amygdala to your nervous system saying you're not safe. And the reason that's there is because the inner child is basically your subconscious programming and doesn't know time. There is no time. So this moment now and 30 years ago, when this trauma happened with, the father yelling at you, which isn't necessarily a one-time event. We know that these things happen over and over with the child. So they're conditioned to believe these things. I'm not safe to be my authentic self. If I'm not safe to be my authentic self, then my life is in jeopardy because I'm dependent on these adults to care and take care of me to survive. And we know that innately as these small beings. And so that's why you get triggered, because the trigger is reminding you of a time you didn't feel safe. And that's why the amygdala is sending a signal to your nervous system, fight, flight, or freeze, and why we have these reactions. And you come up against it all the time, people getting defensive and stuff like that. When you can understand that you were innocent, that your parents were innocent, that your grandparents were innocent, everyone is innocent to this conditioning that they've had, that it is not personal, that you took it personally, your inner child is still holding on to it personally, but that it wasn't. And I came to realize and really let go of the fact that my mother didn't know how to love me. How could she have known? How could she have known how to treat me and care for me? She never experienced that. It was not in her operating system. We can't expect our computer to make a spreadsheet for us if we don't download Excel into it. How can we know? The computer's not going to know how to do that. There's nothing wrong with the computer.
Lisa, I'm going to ask you a question. I mean to cut you off. Ask your question.
Go ahead. I can go on forever.
Was there any operation systems in your life that was of a positive download?
Absolutely. I mean, I also came in, as you started, as you introduced me, as a starseed. I came in with a mission here to help raise the vibration of this planet. So there's always been a spark in me of positivity and optimism and love. And everyone has told me since I've been very small, like you were just, like my mother called me an angel, like you were just an angel sent to me. I've always had a way of making people feel good and loving them. And my mother has good qualities too. Like she's funny and she's caring and she says nice things. Like she did not know how to parent and abandon, and she's got narcissistic qualities too. But I felt loved. I was in a family of 8. I was the youngest. I came from a different father, so I was kind of different. I was an adorable little child who spoke very well at a very young age. And my sisters loved me and doted on me. And because I was bouncing from my grandmother's house and my dad back to my house, it was like I was always welcomed. I was always, oh, Lisa's back. Oh, Lisa's here. So
what was the situation with your dad?
My dad was also a starseed. I've learned later through some like psychic sort of readings and getting into Akashic records and things like that, that my dad
Wait a minute, before you get into your dad, because you mentioned a word that clearly people have no clue, at least some of them may not have no clue. What is a star seed, and how did you know you was a star seed, and what was that mission? Give me a breakdown of exactly what a star seed is for the viewers.
A star seed. Okay. You know how science has told us that we're 12-strand DNA beings,
Mm-hmm.
and that we only have 2 strands of DNA running? Are you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
And the other 10 strands are just junk.
Junk DNA.
Yeah. That sounds like something God would create, a being with junk DNA. Okay.
No.
So that right there is a red flag, right? Like,
right.
What aren't they telling us, right? The reality that we live in is so much greater than what people can wrap their heads around. And the people who are here to tell the truth, like myself, and I'll explain it, we have been, I'm just going to call them the controllers of this planet, have given us words like, conspiracy theorists and tin hat and crazy and, all that. And they do that because it messes with their agenda. They do not want us to know who we are, because people who are sick and in fear are more controllable. And they make billions and billions of dollars off of us, keeping us in fear and not knowing who we truly are. And the condition of this planet is that we are beings who have been manipulated. Our DNA has been messed with, and this has been going on for billions of years. Planet Earth is very sought out planet within the universe. And what we have going on here, these angelic human beings are sought after. I mean, there's a whole spiritual war going on. Like, I can't explain this in 3 minutes, okay? But star seeds were sent here with a higher vibration, like more strands of DNA activated, basically, to seed in higher vibrations on this planet to help raise the consciousness. Because we are all energetic beings. We are all, God is a really difficult word to use because religion has given people the wrong idea of this word. So I'm going to use the word source energy, okay? But accept this however you want. God, source energy, the universe. But I'm going to use source energy because it's less of a trigger word for people.
Right.
Everything is made up. Everything originates from source energy. Absolutely everything is made up of source energy. Think of everything as like little electrons, like bouncing, particle bouncing around. Like, we're all energetic beings. Paper, pen, everything is energy vibrating at a certain rate, right? We know that from science, okay? And we are all that made up of that energy that is source energy. So we are all source energy. We are all a part of that God, so to speak, right? Having an experience here on this planet through that energy. It's like source energy said, I want to experience absolutely everything, and created itself into all these things to go out and experience. Okay. So here we are on planet Earth having these experiences, but the nefarious alien agenda controllers, whatever you want to call it, have manipulated our DNA to dumb us down. And the spiritual war is here to help bring us back into that 12-strand DNA original angelic human being. That's the goal. We're all going through an ascension process. We're ascending back to who we truly are. We are not the full humans that we were meant to be. We've been messed with. Star seeds were sent here from other planets to embody into these avatars, to ground these higher vibrational energies into this planet, because we're all one. You, me, everything, we're all connected within this energy field. When I raise my vibration, it raises your vibration. As we do that, when Jesus came here, Jesus came as a higher vibrational being to anchor in higher frequencies and to teach us who we truly are. He brought in the frequencies that we needed to help move to these higher elevated frequencies. We're ascending. This planet has already moved into a 5D frequency. We're part of a 15th dimensional time matrix, but we're in the third dimensional harmonic universe number 1. I mean, this is stuff that starseeds like myself, we come here and we have these awakenings, which I had in 2017, and you just start getting like downloads. You start receiving information. You start just knowing truths. You're guided to speak with certain people. If you're tuned into this podcast right now and you haven't left it and you can still hear me, it's because this resonates with you. If you turn the channel and you don't want to hear this, it's because it's not resonating with you, and that's fine. But we are here to raise the vibration of the planet. We are all one.
You mentioned your father. Thanks for sharing that information. You mentioned your father, and I can see you're real passionate about what you're talking about. I can feel the vibrational energy. You mentioned your father was a seed, and it's funny. Hollywood, and let's say the gatekeepers.
I like it. Okay.
They're giving us the information. We just don't understand the decoded information. I'm gonna share with you exactly what you just said and dummy it down for individuals. That same scenario you just spoke of was in a movie series by Disney and Marvel called the Galaxy, what's it called?
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Who was his father? Who was Will's father? He was from another dimension. He came here and he started impregnated that same kind of concept. how did you realize your dad? Did your dad share with you that he was also a star, and what was his travel? How did you find out?
I'm going to answer that question, but I do want to throw in here for your viewers to know that the movies, okay, they are documentaries. They reveal to us the truth. And the reason that they do that is these fallen angels, these controllers, the gatekeepers, whatever you want to call it, of this planet, they have to tell you what they do. It's universal law. They are revealing to us what they've been doing to us the entire time through the movies. The Hollywood is really just a segment of this CIA and the whole psyop that they got going on.
It is so funny. I've been saying that for years, but it's kind of like I guess people aren't operating on the same operating system to see the codes that have been inserted in there, because clearly what you just said is in the Guardian of the Galaxy, word for word, verbatim. I mean, it's there. Mm-hmm. And they have to tell you this. I mean, they can't, it's universal law. They have to tell you. But my question, two-part question, going back to your dad, and then the second question is, why is only a few individuals able to understand this? Because I can look at a movie, the Marvel series, and see everything that's happening, understand that it's happening after watching it several times, and go, wow, this has taken place, it's been here, or it's about to happen?
I will answer both of those questions. My dad, I don't think knew he was a starseed. I don't think that he was born in 1929. You know, that is not something that was really out and being talked about like it is today. We have a lot of freedom today to talk about these things. It's a beautiful thing. But he didn't fit into society so well. My dad was extremely intelligent. I call him a Renaissance man, like talented in absolutely art and science. And he went to Harvard, he was in the Navy, but he never could really fit into this matrix, this society. Like relationships were really hard for him. Just having a regular job was really hard for him. He was on a mission. He used to tell me to find the keys to life. And he spent most of his time, I remember him, he was 39 when I was born, and I just mostly remember him either being in the room of a basement or renting a room out of someone's house and just reading books and retyping them, like the crib notes of it, and wanting to learn all this stuff. He came as an awakened being, and he knew that there was something wrong with this planet. But the programming is so deep here. Another movie that you need to watch that is truth is The Truman Show.
I saw that.
We literally live in the Truman Show, okay? Yeah. And so my father, he didn't know he's a starseed. I didn't know he's a starseed. I learned that 8 or 9 years ago when I was probably on my podcast, when I was interviewing all sorts of different people and talking to people who do spiritual readings and Akashic records and stuff like that. And they gave me the insight that he was one of the original starseeds. And wow, did that answer all the questions I needed? I'm like, that's why he was so strange. And he wasn't much of a father, but he gifted me. Maybe I needed that DNA strand to be able to come into this planet as an awakened being as well. I don't know, but he didn't function so well as a father. We weren't speaking for the last 10 years of his life before he passed away. I didn't speak to him for over 10 years. And not because I was mad at him, but I just couldn't, he just wasn't able to have regular relationships. There was too much going on, and I had pretty good boundaries, and I wasn't going to deal with his crap anymore.
Why do you think that it's so difficult for people to not resonate with what's going on when clearly the law states, the universal law, which people need to understand, there's a difference between the law that we recognize versus universal law, and the information is out there? Why do you think we as energetic beings find it so difficult why do we walk around with blinders? Let's call it what it is. Why is it so difficult to remove the blinds from our eyes?
The previous question you asked me was very similar. So I'm going to kind of put those together, which is, why people aren't awake, right? Why is it so difficult? And the answer goes back to what I was explaining before about conditioning and that those first 7 years and the operating system that we take on as these avatars. The powers that be, the controllers, whatever you want to call them, of this planet, have designed systems within this Truman Show that we live in, this false reality that they have created for us. We can only know what we are conditioned to know and see. We can't know what we don't know, right? Like they've proved it in science, like experiments with, dogs or even children. They've done a lot of experiments on people to understand how it is that they work. And the powers that be understand very well the subconscious mind, how it's formed and how it works. And they've used that to control us. They've created the indoctrination program of our schooling system. So they keep us separate in the different age groups. They keep us from expressing our authentic self. They're just creating worker bees. They just want you to think like everyone else and not be that full expression of yourself. They don't teach us about the sixth sense, that we're energy bodies and energy beings. They don't want to talk about that. And they pump us full of chemicals that keep our vibration low. So the foods, it's all coming to light now, like on a full stage. I've known this for, I don't know, forever, I guess, but I've been more awakened to it as time has gone on. The chemicals that they're putting in our food, the preservatives that they put in our food, the stuff in the hair lotion and the creams and the Glade plugins and the Febreze and the Clorox you're spreading on your counter and in your dishes. It's absolutely everywhere, the chemical warfare, basically. And we don't see it as that because the commercials and the marketing around it, they're showing us happy people and clean homes, and they're telling us how viruses are harmful and you need to be vaccinated. And they've conditioned us to believe that we're somebody who we're not. So that's why we're not awake. And we're also energetic beings. We are literally have a morphinogenic field. We're vibrating energetic beings. And there's frequency netting that has been put over this planet. They use the EMFs, they use the cell phones, the towers. They're pumping out in the music. They've changed the music from the 432 hertz that it originally was. They on purpose changed it to 440, to a lower vibration. The entire world has been set up to disempower us. This goes back to what I said before about being innocent. We are all innocent to this programming. We are all innocent to the way that we've been conditioned on this planet. That is why the star seeds are here. We are able to transcend it because we came in with a higher frequency. So we're able to see through the bullcrap. It's like we have truth meters and we're able to see it where some of the other beings aren't able to see it yet. We're not better than anybody else. We're all on an ascension path. We will all develop these higher, like turning on the other DNA strands and opening up our chakras. We're all on our own ascension path. That's what this life is about. We carnate into this life. We have these experiences, and the goal is ascension. That's what we're here for. We're here to come back and to ourselves, to understand that we are source energy, God, so to speak. We are that, and that we are energetic beings, and that we do create this reality. We're waking up to that, and we come into these carnations to live out these experiences, to learn that truth about ourselves.
Let me ask you a question before we wrap up. And thanks so much for taking the time to share this information, because I think it's, I know it's important, plain and simple. I know it's important. And the concept of this show is to provide educational information and empower people to understand that you are in control of your life. You can overcome. My question to you is almost like a two-part question. It sounds almost like another movie that resonates to me, The City of Angels, where we talk about the angelic energy that the individuals, the are looking at us humans and seeing the chaos, but then the word of free will comes in. How much is free will in this matrix? How much does that take place, and how catastrophic is that towards our vibrational frequency? And then the second part of that question is, we talked about the word star seed. Let's talk about another word which I hear a lot: light workers, warriors. There's different classifications of the message and different vibrational frequencies. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what you may know about that?
Yeah. From what I understand, star seeds are beings that typically have not had a lot of lifetimes on Earth, but maybe lots of other different planets. And light
Does
workers.
that have to do with the eye colors? Because I was told that the individuals with darker eyes have been here, that have had several missions. Let me use a different one because I don't want people.
Old souls.
Correct. Multiple times. The eye color tells how many journeys that you've had. I've heard that. I don't know if you heard that before. That if the eyes are darker, you did
They're an
numerous
older
things
soul.
here. Right.
That may be true. And I do just want to say to the viewers too, take what resonates with you and leave what doesn't, with everyone and everything that you hear. Because you may come across certain people and podcasts and things where you're like, oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. Oh, that doesn't. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't.
Right.
Because I'm not trying to push my truth onto anyone. This is my truth. And if it resonates with you, that's great. Accept it. I feel like that's really important for people to understand. Like you're in charge of what you choose to adopt here. You're not being forced to think anything. That's free will, right? So I understand that star seeds are more lifetimes, not necessarily on Earth. I feel that because I don't feel very much at home here. It feels a little clunky and difficult.
You feel almost out of place. Something just ain't.
Yeah,
isn't there.
Yeah, I've never really gotten into like the Matrix stuff, like watching television and movies and magazines and fashion. Mm-hmm. And I've just never, I don't get it. Sports, things like that. I don't get it.
So what do you know about the light workers and all the other classifications?
Light workers are more of this. They're here to. They still have that mission. Their mission is to help raise the vibration of the planet as well. But they're typically they're more earthbound souls that have chosen to have their experiences more on the earth, on planet Earth. I don't think it's the ego and the powers that be. Like, we so love to separate people. Like, I do. I have a TikTok account that I'm really very active on. It's called Reparent Yourself, and I get these questions sometimes, like, "Do you like black men?" Like, and I'm like, I'm not a racist. Like, I don't think about those kinds of things, like starseed, black people, Christians, Muslim, like any of it. We're all God. We're all children of God. We're all the same. It's this society that has forced us to focus so much on our differences. So I appreciate your questions, and I think they're important about a starseed, a light worker. There's indigos, there's rainbow children, there's lots of names for these things. But I think the important thing to understand is just know that there is a whole team, God's team of light, that have come down to this planet to assist us into ascending into a new world. Because I think we can all agree that this planet is in a bad state, right? Mm-hmm. And whether you are a light worker or a starseed or an indigo, it doesn't really matter. The thing is, shine your light, show up, be the change that you want to see in this world. And it needs to start with yourself. And that's why I wrote a book called Reparent Yourself, and why I write kids' books that work with them during their subconscious programming time, is so that you can gain self-empowered programs, so that you can start to work with your inner child and heal the emotional trauma that you've had, the unprocessed emotions, where you start processing those unprocessed emotions and heal yourself. Because as you raise your vibration, because we're all connected, you will help to raise the vibration of this planet. And just take less emphasis off of who this body is, what color your hair is, or your skin, or your religion, or who you think you are. This is just an avatar. It's just a character you've chosen to come to this planet to have this experience. And we need to take the emphasis off of that, what the clothes we wear and how we look and everything. It's get your vibration in check. Start coming from a place of love and inclusiveness and oneness. That is what's important. And I don't really like to segregate or talk about differences or really focus on some of the things about this avatar. Like people ask me, what do you do for a skin routine? And you're this or that. And I'm just like, forget about the body. Are we happy?
The bottom line is, no matter how you look at it, we all, whether you understand the vibrational frequency or whether you don't, the bottom line is the end game is we're all trying to ascend to a higher level of consciousness. And some roads may be easy, some roads may be difficult, but the end game is still the same. We're all trying to get the connection to a higher universe and a better state of mind. How can the viewers reach out to you or follow you and understand the message even clearer?
I am in the process of doing a full revamp, and really I'm at the forefront of things, just the gateway opening up for me right now. I have two contracts with a publisher for my books. I'm revamping my website. I have a website. It's going to be much better here in the next few weeks. It's lisa-watson.com. I'm on TikTok. I do lives on TikTok almost every day. I'm Reparent Yourself on TikTok and Instagram. You can email me at lisa-watson.com. I offer 30-minute free coaching sessions for people. You can go to, there's links on my social media and stuff. And I do that because there's a lot of people out there who don't know where to start, who just have a few little questions. Maybe they can't afford a coach or a therapist or something like that. And I'm here to help those who want to help themselves. So if you want to book a free 30-minute consultation with me, you can do that through, the best way to do it is to either email me or go to my TikTok or Instagram and follow the links there.
You know what, Lisa, thank you so much for bringing that vibration through the Zoom to the studio, through me, to the viewers. And I think you focused on something that was really crucial that the viewers need to understand. Take what information from this podcast, from this episode that resonates with you. Now, everything is not meant for you to understand right now. You may have to travel a different journey to understand different messages. I mean, that's part of the journey. That's part of the journey. With that said,
and I've thrown a lot of big things out there, aliens and stuff, and I know all that stuff can be scary. So it's just pump the brakes. If that's not a place for you to go right now, it's okay. It's okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, then Lisa Watson on the Andre The Beast Crayton show.